Hi, this is Mom on the Right, and I have a special guest on our show. I am going to be talking to former Ambassador Dave Phillips today. He's talking politics, division, how we can unite as a country. And he's going to share about his personal story and this amazing book. You have to get it. It's so inspirational. Well, just stick around to the interview and see that. Mom on the Right. Hi, this is Mom on the Right. You can't see me today because I don't know, I'm floating out there somewhere, but I got something even more important to you. And I'm so excited, like so excited. I'm a little nervous actually. I have former Ambassador Dave Phillips with us. Thank you, Ambassador, for joining Mom on the Right. And I saw your book, I've been reading it, it's been very inspirational. Can you tell me what do you want people to get out of this book personally?
Attitude, all about
Okay.
attitude. But first, thank you for reading it, and thank you for asking me to appear with you and talk about this book. I'm thrilled. So it's evolved over a period of time, and I hope it affects people to where they understand that all this type stuff happens to everybody in their life at some time, and we all just got to have a good attitude.
And that's something that I think we lack in this country. And I want to talk to you. You've been in politics, you've been around it, and we're in such a without getting too deep into it. There's such political discourse every day. You just feel it. It's just a horrible feeling. And and the way you are and the way you approach things, how can we end this political discourse? How can we unify? If you went into office today, what would you do? What would you change?
Unify, talk to people.
Okay.
I mean, get in the middle of all of them. I mean, it's especially on the national level. I mean, we do that in certain states, and we do it in certain regions, like here in North Carolina.
Right.
We're in the center part of the state, but to really reach our potential here in High Point, we recognize that our neighbors, Greensboro, went to Salem, and all the smaller towns all around, we call ourselves the Piedmont Triad. We get together and talk about the issues, and that we get involved with the political structure, and we just try to talk about what needs to be done and what's top priority, and that's one thing that brought the Piedmont Triad together. And then there was a symbol. Our airport was the Greensboro, High Point, Winston-Salem Airport. Well, that's just too much to say. So we said, please, airport, just call us the Piedmont Triad. What it's called.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's something I think we have to work on. Maybe you just, maybe go back into office. Why not? Well, that's a different story. I like the title, "Come On, America." Are you trying to shake America by the shoulders and go, let's get on with it? Let's be unified. Why this title?
Absolutely. Come on, Bruce. Pay attention. Come on. And it's being interpreted that way. Like, let's come on, America. We think we are the biggest and the best, and it's amazing, our history and our reputation around the world. But it takes attitude to go into the next chapter, the next decade, the next century. I mean, it's just come on. And I told someone recently that I'm lucky that I have lived 1/3 of America. I mean, that's hard for people to believe. I mean, we think this country's been around here forever. No,
Yeah, it's a young country.
it's not.
Yeah.
It's a young country.
Yeah. And if any advice you would give to our politicians today, besides going out there and talking to people, and and you're about bipartisanship, and I read that in one of the questions from PR, and I was like, that's kind of like a novelty at this point.
Well, I served for a Democratic governor of North Carolina.
Right.
Then I served as for Republican president, and I support the person who I think will do the best job,
Right.
State or our region or our nation at that time, and for in the future as to what the immediate problems are. And so I've always been that way. As a businessman, I worry about this week, this month, and this year, and that So I've done that. I'm not a partisan politician. People know it. So I try to be true to my beliefs.
And when you were ambassador, and that's quite an accomplishment, especially, you had your own struggles growing up, and people, you need to read the book. This is an amazing book. You got to read the history. But while giving the book away, when you were an ambassador, can you tell me what lessons you learned that you've taken into your own life today, even?
It's a small world.
Yeah. Okay.
Ambassador to a small country.
Right.
Bordered
Estonia.
on Estonia.
Yeah.
Estonia, unbeknownst to a lot of people, have an incredible history going back to the 12th century. And it's all what they've been through and the occupations they've been through and how their attitude is phenomenal. And they caused a revolution by getting together and singing. And they called it the Singing Revolution. And they did it about 20 years ago and got out of the Soviet Union. They all marched and sang. And it was remarkable. Even a movie's been made about it, shown here in America. So it's their attitude. They're very well educated. They believe in education. And an item called Skype was created in Estonia. Well, goodness gracious, why Estonia? They're very high tech. And that and Finland started the first cell phones. I mean, so we have a tendency to think, my golly, that we invent everything in this country. No, you got to look around the world. And that and this is just a perfect example. So I was asked to go there, and the night that I arrived in Estonia, there were riots going on uptown, and we asked why, because we had not been informed that this chaos was going on, and it's because the Estonians were removing or had removed that day a statue of a Soviet soldier downtown, and the Russians created a big backlash, but it was a symbol. It was a symbol. And so that symbol had to be brought down, and it's exactly where different countries and different groups have symbols all over the world. And that just happened to be the night that I got there.
Well, what a way to kick off your career there. And could you tell me anything, anecdotes about, Condoleezza Rice, or what encouraged you about that administration, what you learned from them?
I was watching Condoleezza Rice last night on TV.
I love her.
And he was being interviewed on a golf channel. She's quite a golfer. And I thought back as to when she swore me in and how I got to know her and her impact on the world. I mean, she is a good thinker. She understands. I mean, she's a very knowledgeable person about the Soviet Union and Russia and the history and how that interacted at that time in Europe. So the timing was just perfect. And what she appreciated also was that I had gone to Russia as a student exchange person in the early 1960s.
As a Cold War, right? It was not the Cold War yet. That was before the Cold War.
Well, it was before the Cold War.
Right.
For us to send my school to send a bunch of teenagers.
That's very bold.
And people thought especially my mother was extremely worried about that.
Well, I'm sure she was.
But we spent a lot of time with the Russians, got to know the Russians, visited a lot of cities in Russia, went by train and boat and plane, and it just gave me a taste of what it's all about when we hear all the stories we lived through for the last 60 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and I think even with Ronald Reagan and your background and the administrations moving forward, we've had pretty good relationships with Russia. Maybe you can chime in, and maybe the White House will call you for any advice, because you've been through it. You've been through that. Yeah, your poor mom. I have to say that, poor mom. Throughout your book, I mean, before we got on, we were talking about the no whining thing that your wife gave you this. Can you show our audience your no whining? Like it's not. It's actually, I think we're a bunch of whiners right now. I won't speak for you, but my generation, we whine about a lot of things. And, I think that speaks to me in this book. And you also said something that your enemies are not your enemies, they're your opposition. You like astounded me with that comment. Can you just elaborate on that? And that's kind of mind blowing. That could be a lot that could really transform someone's life. That quote alone. You speak on that.
Well, I feel this way, and I had the fortunate opportunity to travel a lot when I was young. My parents loved to travel, and I was exposed to a lot of culture, geography around the world, and it's fascinating to visit those places when you're children, when you're married, and when you're children. And I hope to with my grandchildren. But you've got to see it, touch it, feel it to understand and appreciate it. We watch programs, we read books, and all that, but they're people, and you got to understand they've got a background that's coming from wherever because of whatever reason, and it's fascinating. So it is. You talk about the enemies, and you talk about we have fears. We should have fears and should be prepared for whatever is necessary. But at the same time, we need to understand that people are making these decisions and why, wherefore. And it just we got to think these through, which I think in today's world, the whole world knows what's going on. Today, this telecast can go all over the world, people in Africa or China or India.
Amazing.
Yeah. Amazing who can see what and knows what. This is really, really good for the world and for people. I mean, thank goodness. So I think it's going to help all of us as human beings.
And I just want to say quote something else from your book that, look, we get, people in the media we get a lot of books and stuff, and you usually can't get through most of it. And I just couldn't put yours down. And we're page 5. This is just page 5, and this is one of my favorites. If you don't mind, you wrote it. Well, you said it. I'm willing to share my story with you only to help others find success in their stories. You go on to say you wouldn't want people to look at your life and feel like they have to become this entrepreneur or ambassador to feel successful. I'm paraphrasing here. I just love that quote because I think most of us think if we don't get a fat bank account, we don't achieve status, that we're worth nothing. And you're saying just on page 5 into your book, no, this is not true. The roots of this, where does this come from, sir?
Well, I've learned in my hometown, in my region, and in traveling the world that some people are not taken about wealth. They're taken about other aspects of their life that they want to pursue and be part of. They would like to be comfortable, of course, but wealth shouldn't be the only thing you achieve. It should be just a byproduct of what you achieve.
Right.
And I'm intrigued with all these stories about billionaires, and I wish somebody do a story that most of these billionaires are giving their money away. They don't know what else to do with it in their own personal life. You can only eat so much steak. They truly giving away their money for good. And
you don't hear about it. You really don't. You don't hear about it much. You're right. That could be another show right there.
It really could. And people would listen and understand the motives of people, human beings.
And, you've encountered so many famous people over your career. Where do you begin? Dalai Lama, is just one of them. Can you just tell me who has inspired you the most, or I don't know, that's intrigued you the most during your career? And, it might not be a famous person that's listed in this book. Who inspired you?
Well, I think, and that we're with the furniture industry, and town doubles in size twice a year, where people come from all over the world.
Right.
to sell furniture. So I grew up in this environment, and my father loved to take me around and introduce me to his customers. And then I got into the same business, and where I would deal with the furniture industry, and it expanded from there where I went into other things. But it's people. I mean, people like today, eye to eye, seeing people and their reaction is very important, no matter if you're trying to sell something or.
Right.
So it's
Right.
always believed in that.
And can you finally? Would you go back into politics, or are you kind of like I'm kind of done with that?
So and I've never on anything. It's
Yeah.
always made me uncomfortable.
Okay.
I want to be involved in government. I want to help government. I just, at all levels of government, I will help and support. And but I never ran for anything. And I don't mind being asked to do this or asked to do that, because I participate. But I tell you, running the political world is very, very difficult. But it's part of democracy. It's great to watch all these people running for president. Sell something to the rest of the world. My goodness, all these people, presidency of the United States of America. It's incredible. I don't think that happens anywhere else in the world.
Yet it's pretty incredible, and it's going to be very exciting to see what happens. I'll tell you that, in my view, really interesting. I know I said finally. I'm sorry. Is there anything else you would like to, tell people, who may be struggling, and especially are kind of like, disenchanted with American politics and so forth? If there's any advice you would give, especially the younger generation, they're very disenchanted with politicians and the way America's going. Would you say anything, give them any advice?
Absolutely. And it's communication that opens all this up. Everybody walks around looking at the information on their cell phone.
Yes. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
I've got a flip flop somewhere, and
You don't have no flip one. You have a flip one? Okay, my dad had one too. Well, I used to have one too, but I need to use the internet.
Well, I'm just an old generation, but it's today's world where you learn about everything instantaneously. That's the word of using all that information. You've got to really sort through it. And I like reading all my papers, believe it or not, and I like watching all my TV programs and listening to, and I drive my wife, because I like the news media. I like the way, but it is different interpretations. And I think these young people have access to so much communication today. I hope they get the whole picture before they react to something. And but it's the way it's going to be around the world, and it's going to be good, and it's going to be difficult times.
No, thank you so much, Ambassador. It is just, I know you're a very busy guy, and I know you stopped doing your media tour as well. I'll end it by saying thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm honored, and thank you for your book. It's already been an encouragement personally. Hope there's another book, but no pressure there either.
When Mary Buck came to see me, I don't know which story, but she writes columns here at High Point, and I was honored that she wanted to write this book. And it took us some time, because I was really, really concerned that and her attitude, her reputation is fair and balanced, and I think she really is. And so I think more people need to write their stories as to what situations they dealt with, and not historical documents, but again, getting back to their attitude, how they dealt with them.
Yeah, and we need Mary to help write it, because not everyone can write like Mary, because the way she did it was so conversational. You did feel like you're in the room with you, and she just made everything so natural. And she did such a gorgeous job. I got to interview her, because she did such a beautiful job on your book. Really, I think you two made a great team. You're right. We all need to write our stories, but we're probably going to have to hire a Mary. No offense. We probably will.
Well, it's very well explained by the book.
Just buy the book. Buy the book. Buy the book. Please buy the book. It's amazing, guys. We're going to do a little article on this. We're going to do blasts. So hang on tight. We're going to, we appreciate you, sir, for coming on the show with us, and we appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm honored by it, and it's that name, "Come On America." It's meant a lot to a lot of people. It says a lot of things. So I think that we're very fortunate that that name came up.
I think you need to do T-shirts then. Maybe I'll do a T-shirt. I'll give you some of the money from it. Well, thank you so much, Ambassador. Bless you and your staff and everyone involved in making this possible. And enjoy your summer. Relax. Do whatever you do. And thank you for being an inspiration and being an impact on a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am thrilled to do this.
Bless you, sir. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.